The Lockdown Defense Sports Network and its content are fan-driven shows offering opinions and analysis for entertainment purposes only. Our commentary reflects personal views and should not be relied upon as professional, legal, or investigative advice. Nothing said on this program is intended to accuse, defame, or incriminate any individual or organization. Listeners are encouraged to verify facts independently and consult qualified professionals for serious matters.
You're now rocking with the best, the man that is often early but never wrong. I'm your host, Coach Defense, bringing you another hit-making moment from the POV of me, NFL hot takes and news breaks, and I'm here to give you the real deal, live and uncut. Another Patreon exclusive today, and it's a good one. Going to be a good one, going to be a special one. Your boy, Coach Defense, does a lot of research. I love to back up my opinions with facts, so I do my due diligence when it comes to the NFL content, right? So I wish actually more people would do that in real life instead of believing everything they see on the internet, and most of it's clickbait. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. So yearly I do a sleeper video, mainly on YouTube, NFL prospects I think they're going to hit, and they're likely going to be drafted in day 2 or day 3. They could make an instant impact with their teams if they go to the right situations, right? And I got a pretty good hit rate on this, and if you haven't been watching my content for a while, it's been pretty good. Discovering hidden gems all over the place. So it's so good that I'm bringing it to you on Patreon first and foremost. You're getting this live and uncut right here, right now. And you've been supporting this 2026 movement. I appreciate it. So this is an exclusive. I'm going to break down everything in a 2-part series, offense and defense, giving you today going to be offense, Thursday going to be defense, about the players I feel like they're going to make an impact going into the 2026 season. If they go to the right places, they go to the right environments, they're going to flourish, and they're going to be day one hits. It could be potential starters right out the gate, depending on where the environment they're going into and who's in front of them. But I'm loving what these guys are doing in their pre-draft workouts and things of that nature. And I'm going to definitely break it down exactly who's going to be it and who's not. So I'm going to get down to the offense. I'm going to do a position, go position by position. I'm going to do 2 people per position and give you my analysis on what they are and who they're going to be for specific teams when they come down to the idea of who they're going to be drafted by. Now, I will honestly say, when the quarterback situation is going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to do running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends for this particular episode. And we're going to get right down to brass tacks of it all. But overall, I have to start with the quarterbacks. I'm just going to be honest, and we're going to get into exactly who I feel is going to be good, coming into the 2026 season. But I got to tell you, when it comes down to quarterbacks, I'm a little torn, to say the least. And I think I'm being nice when I say that, because in all honesty, I think they're trying to make something out of nothing in a lot of spaces. They talk about Fernando Mendoza. He's going to be the only person that's air quote, worth an early round pick that's likely going to be a potential starter, very quickly. Nothing taken away from him. Heisman Trophy winner, national title winner. He was a great college player. But as we all know, a lot of college quarterbacks do not translate into, when they're being great college quarterbacks, but they haven't translated into the NFL properly, but they've won all the accolades that Mendoza has. And I'm not sold on Mendoza either, to be honest with you. And I'm going to talk about a few other guys that give me pause as well. But I'm not going to sit here and act like Mendoza is going to change the world either. I'm just not sure he's going to be able to change the franchise. And let's be honest, he's going to the Raiders, for God's sakes. I mean, and when the last time they nurtured anything? But I digress. I'm not going to harp on Mendoza. I wish him well, but I just don't see the it factor with him either. I mean, we've seen quarterbacks come into the league that are very polished out of college, and they haven't hit. So when you have these concerns or these, I want to call them red flags, but these, I guess you can say negatives, or I guess you can say things that give you pause, things that are, in a conversation of, a drawback in a sense. There's a bunch of superlatives or synonyms you can use for negatives or red flags to say that this guy, has some limitations. Let's put it that way. So when it comes to that idea, Mendoza to me has some limitations. And a lot of other quarterbacks, this late draft or late offseason hype around Ty Simpson as well, and he's an enigma, in my opinion. I mean, this is what gives me pause about Ty Simpson, especially because he's been inconsistent in college. So what do you think that's going to do, and how that's going to translate into the league? Let's just be honest. If you're inconsistent in college, what are you going to be in the pros? I don't see. I haven't seen in my memory, recent memory, a college quarterback being inconsistent coming out of college and being a great pro. When does that happen? It's hard enough being a college quarterback. It's even harder to be a NFL quarterback. So, what do you think inconsistent quarterback is going to be like in the league? It's going to take him a while. Now, I'm not saying he can't be a reclamation project like a Sam Darnold or a Baker Mayfield, but it's going to take time. So, if you draft these guys, day 2, day 3. They're going to be a backup, for starters. And it might take them a while or to go to the right coach in order for them to really round out and to be a serviceable quarterback. But it's weird because a lot of these guys, some of these, well, I'm not going to say a lot of them. Some of them have the talent that is required. Like I take Drew Allen for instance. I mean, he was hurt for majority of the 2025 season at Penn State, but he has all the tools. The arm strength, the size, the mobility. I mean, he checks all the boxes physically as an athletic quarterback. He checks them all. But can he play consistent quarterback is the question. We don't know. I mean, we didn't get a large sample size of it because he got hurt in the 2025 season. And, now he's in the draft conversation. And, we saw him at the combine and saw him a few other times throwing the football. And it got some zip, but the accuracy is an issue in some spaces. So can you deal with that? I mean, we're looking at an Anthony Richardson situation where, again, very uber talented, big size, big arm. I mean, just you name it, but he's just not accurate in a sense. I think that Drew Allen is a bit more accurate than Richardson coming out of college, but still, I mean, you got to be dead on accurate in the league. You cannot have any negatives with your accuracy, or you will definitely be sitting on the bench because you will end up turning the ball over a lot. The margins of error are very slim in the league. Let's just be real. So holistically, these quarterbacks, man, I'm just not thrilled about them. So I didn't cover them in this particular segment because, again, Mendoza, I've said my reservations about him. The it factor. Then he might be a decent. I think his ceiling is a decent game manager. I don't think he's ever going to be in the conversation of elite in the top 5 consistently, like with your Josh Allen, Mahomes, Justin Herberts, those quarterbacks. I don't think he's ever going to be in that conversation. He might be a serviceable one, a decent game managing quarterback, but he's going to need a lot around him in order to win. And will the Raiders or whoever has him ever do that for him? It's going to be a question. I think it really matters what you put around him. And Ty Simpson as well, inconsistent. Grant Nussmeier, he has some good, accuracy, when it comes down to his throwing the football, but he's undersized. He's 6'1". That's a conversation. Carson Beck is 6'4", but we've seen Carson Beck be inconsistent and be a turnover machine in certain aspects of it. So that's a problem. I talked about Drew Allen. Drew Allen already, he has all the tools, but he can't put it together into solid quarterback play. It's almost like if you give Drew Allen, Brock Purdy's, if you give the physical traits to that Drew Allen has to Brock Purdy would be a top 5 quarterback. Because Brock Purdy got it up here. He definitely got it up here, but he's limited physically, right? So it's one of those things where if you transplant Brock Purdy's brain into Drew Allen or vice versa, Drew Allen's physicality into Brock Purdy, he'd be a top 5 quarterback. Easy. And I Shanahan system? Absolutely. But that's where we're at. So I'm not going to waste your time covering those quarterbacks in detail, although I did talk about it for about 5 minutes. But, I didn't cover them in this coverage here. I started with running backs. So, and this is strictly guys that I feel like will probably be day 3 guys. Maybe late day 2. Day 2 is round 2 and 3, I believe, and then you get 4 through 7 and on day 3. So I think these guys are primarily day 3 guys. I might highlight a guy that might go earlier than day 3, as we go through this. But I think most of the guys in this offensive list are going to be day 3 guys. So starting with the running backs, we're going to talk about Kaytron Allen. Kaytron Allen is an interesting prospect. He was a workhorse at Penn State. 5'11", 219. He had over 1,300 yards rushing, for the Nittany Lions, 6.2 yards a carry, 15 touchdowns. I mean, he had a great career. Played 12 games. He played a great career when it comes down to, what he did at Penn State. Now, why he didn't get a lot of buzz or why he's not, ranked, higher in the, rankings, I guess you can say, what and who he is or what he can do. It's some concerns there. There's some concerns there, but I think that, if you can develop certain deficiencies that he has, he can round out to be a really good serviceable running back. Now, I'm gonna age myself a little bit when I say this, but Seeing him run in the Penn State uniform and at his size and his speed, he gives me a lot of Kajana Carter vibes, if you know who that is. If you don't know what it is, go to YouTube and Google it and see who Kajana Carter is, and then compare his tape, his running style to Kaytron Allen. You'll see a lot of similarities. Really big frame, lower frame. He really has a lot of muscle in his lower frame, and he's a really powerful downhill runner. He's a workhorse type of runner. He's a power runner, and I think that he can really carve out a role for himself on a team that could be in need of a short yardage and a goal line running back, if nothing else. And I think that he can do that. He can be a primary running back, but again, he doesn't have that home run hit ability with a 4.5 40. He's not a burner. He's not a burner at 219, but he definitely can get you some tough short yards in a pinch when you need 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and need to hand the ball off, and he can get you those extra yards because he's just that powerful of a runner. Or if you need to punch it in the goal line, he needs that extra oomph to get himself across the goal line. He can do it. I'm extremely confident that he can do something like that. So I believe that is his niche right now, and he can refine himself into be a every down back. Because there are some concerns about his pass catching ability, his ability to make people miss in open space, and his pass protection abilities. And that's a no-no. That's a no-no for a lot of coaches. If a running back cannot pass protect in the NFL, they are definitely limited in the ability to get on the field. So that's got to be cleaned up. But holistically, I think that, again, why he's likely a day 3 guy, because like I said, he's a powerful downhill runner. He's more power than finesse. He's not going to make you miss a whole lot in open field, or he's going to try to run you over, or run through you. Or if you try to arm tackle him, he's going to break that. He's going to shrug that off and keep running. But and the only negative that I really can give him is he needs receiving work and needs pass protection work. And those are the type of things that make you a 3 down back. Like, you can run the ball on 1st and 2nd down, but you're going to come off the field on 3rd down because you can't catch the ball in the backfield, or you can't protect the quarterback on all these pass downs. So he has to refine that. So I will say that. So that's why he's more of a project runner than an early prospect. But that's coachable stuff. It really is. And again, you carve out a niche as a short yardage guy or goal line guy, early, and get the production that way while you're working on your other deficiencies. So I think that outside of those 2 things, he's going to be a really good runner. So I believe that somebody's going to get a pretty good steal with him. If they utilize him in the right way, he's going to be good for them. So I believe that Kaytron Allen is somebody they should pick up if you need a home run threat when it comes down to getting you over the goal line, or a short yardage threat, and utilize them in that space, and then just coach him up to be better at pass pro and work with his hands and his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Then he could round out to be a 3 down back. We'll see. But I do like him as a day 3 guy for a guy that needs a team that needs a 2nd or 3rd running back. So we'll look out for that. Next guy on my list is Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas. Now, when I say he shocked everybody by running the 4.3 40 at 228 pounds. That's at 6'2", 228, 4.33. That is rare. That is absolutely positively rare. He has rare size, speed, and agility, at this height and size. And another workhorse type running back. He had 167 carries with over 1,000 yards, 6.2 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns in 12 games. Like I said, in the combine, he ran a 4.3 40 at 228. That is rare. That is rare. You're not seeing people walk off the bus a lot with weighing 228 pounds and still running 4.3 40 as a running back, for sure. So he has the home run threat ability, and he's a really good one-cut runner. Like, he can break those long runs. Unlike Kaytron, he's a home run threat. If he gets into the open field, he's going to run home. He's going to get home a lot of times. He's going to take it completely to the residence. Shout out to Derwin James. We heading to the residence when we trying to get touchdowns, right? So yes, he's definitely a home run threat. So, you ask the question, if this guy is so, talented, why is he a day 3 or later round pick? Now, he has a little bit of an issue. He's a fumbler, in all honesty. He had a big time fumbling problem in his college career. And I harken back, and again, I'm aging myself again, to Tiki Barber from the Giants. Tiki Barber had a real big time fumbling problem, almost drove him out of the league early on because he couldn't stop fumbling. But what he did was he got some good coaching. He completely refined his ability to carry the football, or how he carried the football, and he rounded out to a really good running back. So I would say that if he can clean that up, he would definitely be a dominant running back in this league. Now, when you get to his idea of what I feel like the notes on him are, he's a really good one-cut runner. He doesn't spend a whole lot of time in the backfield. He puts his foot in the ground and he gets downhill. He finishes runs well. Yeah, I think he definitely makes a lot of people miss him. I mean, hell, you're running at a 4.3 clip at 228 pounds. You're not a DB is not going to tackle you unless he has bad intentions. Let's just keep that real. He gets to the second and third level, he's going to break a lot of tackles. Let's just be honest. But that's a problem for most defenses from the starter. But like I said, there's a real fumbling problem. And much like Kaytron, he has an issue with pass pro and his receiving work. So those are coachable things as well. So I think that again, he's a running back 2 or running back 3 for needy teams in that space. And he could go off the board, between the 4th and 7th round to a team that really could, spend their time with him, developing him and getting those deficiencies cleaned up. And he'll be a really good running back for you. I think he can be a really good tandem running back. I'm not sure, again, unless he cleans up the fumbling problems, he can ultimately be, a bell cow running back. But if he cleans that up, he can. I mean, he has all the physical traits. And like I said, he's a really good runner, as a running back, especially. But the issue is the 3-down running back, conversation, because I got to keep another guy on the roster that can pass protect and can receive out of the backfield. If you can't do those things, coaches will limit your ability to be on the field. So, but again, I mean, they're coachable things. They're things he can't clean up. So I'm not going to, write him off. Obviously, he has a lot of talent. So it's just a question of, who going to nurture that talent and develop him into a every down back. If he gets to that point, he's going to be a starter. And he had the production in college to tell you that he can get it done. But if people are wind of you being a fumbler, they're going to harp on that. And they're going to go after that football. So he's got to clean that up. He can't put the ball on the ground and go, and that will definitely keep you from seeing the field if you can't control your ability to not turn it over. So we'll see. But I do like his upside if you can work on those fumbling issues in his pass pro. So yeah. So those are the 2 running backs I have. Wide receivers. Now I'm gushing over this dude. I'm not going to lie. Antonio Williams, and he's one of the guys I feel like he could be a late day 2 guy. I think that if somebody needs this particular wide receiver on their team, they're going to jump up and maybe get him in the 3rd round. I'm thinking. Hell, it just depends on how the receivers peel off the board. But if there's a run on receivers, late 2nd or early 3rd, he could jump off the board then. But definitely, worst case scenario, he's early day 3 guy. Early day 3 guy. And I'm talking about Antonio Williams from Clemson. Now, 5'11", 195 pounds. Didn't have a great amount of receiving yards, to be, one of the primary guys on the Clemson offense. But again, we're talking about the Clemson offense. It's a far cry from the Trevor Lawrence days, I believe. But yes, it's definitely, it's not the old days of Dabo, that kind of conversation, right? But when I tell you that this kid has a lot of potential, especially as a slot receiver, he has an innate ability. He doesn't run a 4.40. Now that's nothing to sneeze at. He definitely has the speed, the long striding speed, but his short area burst and quickness is nightmarish for DBs. Like, he gives defensive backs, good ones, problems covering him one-on-one. And I wouldn't dare play off coverage on him because he's really going to make it unfair. Because he's a steal in the slot. He really is. And he has a little bit of outside potential. I've seen some conversation about maybe he's kind of hearkening to the idea of being compared to Amon-Ra St. Brown. But again, like I said, give DB fits. He has a really good polished route running set for a college, kid coming out of college. So that's a plus. He also has some special teams upside. So I think he's just a steal, and he's a Swiss Army knife to a degree. So that goes back to my idea. Like, he's an ideal slot. He has really good short area quickness. He's a really good route runner. He's really good after the catch. Swiss Army knife on special teams. He can punt return, kick return. That's another added concern. Another added positive. The only concern he might have is he was a little bit of an injury bug in a season or 2 in college. So, that was probably maybe drop him down because people are concerned whether or not he can stay healthy. But if he can stay healthy, for sure, he's definitely going to be a dominant wide receiver in this league. And don't let him get a good quarterback to throw him the ball early on. I would definitely say that he's going to be a weapon in 2026, depending on where he goes. But yes, I'm definitely thinking Antonio Williams is going to be a household name if he goes to the right environment, for sure. All right, next up is Bryce Lance. This is Trey Lance's brother, ironically. And it seems as if the whole Lance family goes to the same college, because he was the North Dakota State as well, following his brother. Now, mind you, his brother's a quarterback, a super athletic, strong arm quarterback. I ironically play for my Chargers now. But Bryce is a wide receiver, 6'3", 209, runs a 4.3 40. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for North Dakota State. Now, only knocked to, in that state, he's FCS, not FBS. So you have that whole, FBS, not FCS. But you got a whole conversation of whether, he went against really good competition or not. But the production is there. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes down to his athleticism. He's an explosive athlete. It runs in the family. Like, him and Trey are explosive athletes. Now, you just don't see it as much because Trey's a quarterback. But Bryce is special when he has the ball in his hands. He is. And to be that fast and that tall and that size, that is the prototypical outside receiver. I think I harken back to him being, and I don't want to put the injury bug on his jacket. I don't, but he gives me a lot of Christian Watson vibes with less of injury concerns. He wasn't as banged up as Christian Watson was in college and or the pros. So if he can stay on the field and stay healthy, he could be a better version of that. And you see what Christian Watson does when he plays, and he's great. He's scary too because he can stretch the field with that long range striding speed. So that's a conversation that he can really be a really good contested ball, X receiver type, boundary guy, deep threat. I mean, he's the prototypical boundary receiver. He's good. He has good contested catchability. He's a field stretcher. He's a workhorse receiver because he had multi-1,000-yard receiving yards at North Dakota State. The only caveat is, that, he needs refinement with his route running, which most college kids do. And he's a little bit of an issue with press man, which, he's going to see in the league. He's going to see press man from some of these corners in the league. They're just going to pressure you and dare you to get off the line. And if you can't produce in that space, then that's going to be a knock. But outside of that, if anybody plays off coverage on this kid, good luck. Good luck, because he's going to make a life a nightmare. He really is. He really is. So I like what his upside and potential is. And I think he's shooting up draft boards with people seeing more of him in the postseason, interviews and film and his workouts and things of that nature. So, it's a chance that he could go day 2, but I definitely think he'd be a nothing short of an early day 3 guy. Somebody's going to take a chance on him and think that they can get, that production out of him and be a sneaky, boundary receiver for a needy team. So I'm liking what Bryce Lance is bringing to the table, man. So watch out for Bryce Lance in the draft in April. So we'll see how he goes. And so rounded out, we got 2 tight ends to talk about here. One guy from Utah. Now, it seems like Iowa and Utah and certain places like that, they all develop tight ends, like complete tight ends well. And then Dallin Billey is no different. 6'4", 265 pounds. Now, I'm not going to harp on their stat line because tight ends don't get the ball thrown to them in college. It's all wide receiver and running back work. They don't get a lot of love. I haven't seen many tight ends go over 1,000 yards receiving in quite some time. I mean, it's very outlierish that they even do it. But he did have 48 receptions, 620 yards, 6 touchdowns, despite the limited targets, right? But, played 13 games, ran a 4.6 240. So he has the prototypical speed for a really good, inline tight end. But his claim to fame is blocking. He's a really good inline blocker. He gives me a little bit of a George Kittle vibes. He really does. I mean, because George Kittle was always known for his blocking coming out of college, and that's what people drafted him for, what the Niners drafted him for. But he was George Kittle, and much like him and Dallin Billey, they're underrated pass catchers, especially in intermediate areas. And them setting up in that linebacker or behind the linebacker, between the second and third level areas and catching the ball. He has a large catch rate, obviously at 6'4", so he's a natural red zone threat. So I think that he gives me a lot of George Kittle vibes, where George Kittle didn't have a whole lot of buzz coming out of college, right? I think he was a 4th round pick, but once he got on the field and he showed people what he can do, he can help in the run game with that Shanahan system, and he can sneaky, be a really good pass catcher out of the in pass situations. So yeah, I really like what he is. To be a refined blocker, have be a sneaky athletic and have a good pass catching set. That is definitely a skill that people are going to regret not picking him up if they pass on it. So yeah, I think that he's going to be a legit tight end 2 weapon, especially going to help you in your run game on the backside runs and things of that nature, holding off D ends in the run game, and he's going to sneak out and catch some passes out of the backfield. So if you run a lot of 2 tight end sets, or you want to run some 2 tight end sets, Dallin Billey is your second tight end, and he's going to be really good for you because I like what he does. And I think that with some refinement and his ability to diagnose zones, that he could be a legit tight end 1. And it's just like George Kittle is now. So yeah, I like what Dallin Billey is bringing to the table. So watch out for him because he's going to be really good. My last guy is Dae Quan Wright. Dae Quan Wright is very, very sneakily athletic for 6'4", 255. And again, like I said, he isn't a stat machine either. Because again, tight ends don't get a lot of love in college. But 39 receptions, 635 yards in his last season with 5 touchdowns, 15 games played. So he didn't get a lot of love from a target perspective. But hear me when I say this kid runs a 4.55 40 as a tight end at 255. That's a problem right there. He is a really sneaky weapon in the multi-tight end set as well. He can definitely be a matchup nightmare for most linebackers and a lot of undersized DBs. Is that 6'4", he's definitely going to tower over most defensive backs in this league and most safeties. So, he's a really good vertical threat down the seams. He's a big target. He's really good at contested catches. I think he's even better than Allen Billy is at contested catches. So he's a red zone mismatch, period. Like, you get into those short area places and you need to throw the ball up to a person that you know is going to come down with it, he's your guy. Dae Quan Wright is your guy out of Ole Miss. He has sneaky speed, so if you think he's slower than he really is, you're going to get beat. He's going to surprise you with that long, rangy speed. And I think that he's really going to be really good as a field stretcher. He's going to get into that intermediate level that behind the linebackers and before the safeties and catch a lot of balls down the seams, down the middle post areas and things of that nature. So he's going to be really good pickup for a day 3 guy. I think he really is. The only issue is, unlike Allen Billy, he's not a great blocker. So I think he's going to be more of a flex tight end to start. He's going to be flexed out in the off the line of scrimmage and in the slide and things of that nature early on until he gets up to snuff from a league blocking perspective in the run game. But outside of that, he's definitely a great athlete when it comes down to his ability to catch the football, be a red zone threat, go up in high point passes at 6'4", that leaping ability. He's going to be a good one. He's going to be a good one. So again, he has some work to be done. But again, all the things I've talked about these guys being negatives they have in their arsenal right now, they're coachable abilities. There's certain things you just can't coach out of people, but these guys have ability, things that are coachable and they can be corrected and can be rectified with the right personnel. So I think that if they get into the right system and get coached right, they're going to be legit starters in this league. And we're going to be hearing these names on Sunday a lot. And if you play dynasty football, these are names that you want to kind of target in your later rounds, or guys you want to pick up that couldn't be sitting on your bench or your taxi spots. They can tell you that, hey, if they do hit, guess what? I can bring them in and they can be perennial starters for me, and nobody would know about them but me. And you heard it here first. So that's going to wrap it up, man. Those are my guys for the offensive side. Like I said, on Thursday, we're going to talk about defense. So we're going to break down defensive personnel in that space. And I'll give you my guys I feel like, from everything from an edge to a safety, who's going to be really good day 2, day 3 guys. And they're going to definitely shine once they get on the field. So as always, man, we appreciate everybody that's been supporting the Patreon movement. If you have not done so, or you watch this on a free trial, please sign up for us directly, because there's going to be a lot of content coming through the pipeline here, in the next few days, weeks, and months. We got a draft coming up, so we're going to be doing a lot of draft coverage and things of that nature. So, overall, man, like I said, if you're looking for the best unfiltered content, NFL content on these airways, you look no further than the Lockdown Defense Sports Network and our Patreon page. Like I said, if you're just watching this, from the interim, it's a 7-day trial you can do. But I promise you'll want to stay after that. Hit up the link below here. And and that'll get you directly to accessing our content. Hit us up on socials, and we're gonna be back for another hit making moment on Thursday, man. So look out for that. But in the meantime, between time, I'm your boy Coach Defense, and always you got to do one thing: you got to step up to lock it down.